want the human being, like Allah says in the Quran, everything that is right, the shaitan wants you, that is wrong, and everything that is wrong wants you to think is right.
Allahu Akbar.
So that is his attack against Islam. But the attack against humankind, Muhammad said, if a man commits homosexuality, to take him and tie him in a rug, take him on the highest mountain possible, and throw him off, and make sure when you throw him off that he's hit his head.
Allahu Akbar.
That means to make sure his head shatters.
Subhanallah.
That he have done.
Subhanallah.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he sent the angel in the time of Lut, when that angel took his wing and dug it into the floor, into the earth, and took those creatures and threw them up into the sky, he said they were like if they were cotton, pieces of cotton flowing in all over the place. So in every society, as far as you can take it, Rome, Sodom and Gomorrah, Egypt, you can go as far, Greece, every society that have committed this wicked act and have allowed it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have destroyed it. And when the Muslims today, they start to act like it's nothing, because hardly any Muslim today speak out against it. They don't have the guts, they don't have the balls, they don't have the audacity to speak out against it. Even Obama signed a declaration to say that a man can sleep with a man who's the most wickedest creature, even though he's a black creature, the most wickedest creature.
Subhanallah.
The man they call whatever Trump or whatever, he had enough balls to tell the homosexual no.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
Inshallah, Allah said again, no, we need to be able to stand up the haqq, stand up the truth. When you know it's wrong, all the society
Indeed.
is wrong.
Indeed. Indeed.
That's what, you know,
Indeed.
compromise is wrong.
Jazakallah khairan, Sheikh. May Allah bless you and give you the success. The concept of demonic society, the concept of having the guts, hopefully that's a better word, the courage, inshallah, to speak up and to say the truth and say what needs to be said and not to be a coward. I agree with you 100%. Those nations being destroyed, I agree with you 100%. The angel flipping his wing and tossing that entire city, Allahu Akbar. And the capital punishment that's mentioned in the Sharia with regards to what some of the companions came to the conclusion of executing capital punishment on someone who commits that foul act in the Sharia. There's a hadith that says, "Man wajada ya'malu 'amala qawmi Lutin, faqtul al-fa'ila wal-maf'ula bihi." The narration says, anyone you find doing what the people of Lut did, sodomy or buggery, whenever you find someone doing that, he says, then kill the doer and the one whom is done. Kill the doer and the done too. Now in this hadith, FYI, this is discrepancy among the ulama with regards to its authenticity. وَالْقَوْلُ الصَّحِيحِ أَنَّهُ لَا يَثْبُتْ مَرْفُوعًا. It's not exactly the words of the Prophet ﷺ authentically. However, the Sahaba, as Shaykh ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah ta'ala and others have said, أَجْمَعُوا عَلَى قَتْلِ هَؤُلَاء. The consensus of the companions was that this is a major crime that is to be punished by capital punishment, or faced and met with capital punishment in the Sharia. And the companions, they differed on how it's supposed to be carried out. Throwing in from the highest building, being burnt, this and that, so on and so forth. Some of what Sheikh Yusuf mentioned. I don't know if I've read this, they said roll him in a carpet, slam him on his head. But perhaps, Allah knows best, maybe. Is the ijtihad of the what? Of the Sahaba regarding the kayfiyat al-qatl, how exactly to do it. What's important is, this is a very sad reality, Sheikh, and we ask Allah to protect us from this, from being those who are afraid to say what's needed to be said. And being even worse than that, not just being scared and afraid or terrified, but compromising and bending and twisting and dancing to fit in and to interpret and warp the text and the Islamic identity and the Islamic culture. That's the most dangerous thing right there. Because a person may say, whether it's a scholar or a leader or anyone says, listen, I'm afraid for my life. I don't want to be in this situation. Or, there are verses in the Quran about someone being compelled to make a statement of kufr. Someone being compelled to make a statement of disbelief. So therefore, perhaps that applies here. If I say this, I'll be treated like that. I'll be locked up like this. That's one thing. Or one just say, I'm not built like that. I don't have the ability to say that. I don't have the courage. I'm scared. I'm afraid of waking up and not seeing my wife and my children. Like, it's bad, but it's not as bad as someone who now twists and warps and bends what Allah and His Messenger says and what the ulama for 1,000 years have said. Now there's something seriously wrong. And it may seem far-fetched now, but 20 years, 50 years, 100 years, Allahu Alam, how long life will be on this planet, things may become different. Things may totally change. And then the understandings of Islamic principles may evolve to something totally different. And I'm sure there are many things in which the older brothers and sisters are saying it was different 30 years ago. It was different 40 years ago. No one ever thought like that or did anything like this 40 years ago. But now it's become household practice. So may Allah bless you, Sheikh, for your encouraging words. Jazakallah khairan. Any questions from online, Abu Naila?
Initials AJ from Queens, New York. What is the ruling on practicing a martial art that may have shirk as origins, shirk-like origins, but I don't believe in it? Just looking to learn the self-defense aspect of it.
Tayyib. First and foremost is, we said this a while back, Allah only Allah knows. I'm not a master of martial arts. I'm not an expert of martial arts. However, I would humbly say there are people who are and can speak on this better than I can. Correct me if I make a mistake, Sheikh. Sensei, please correct me if I make a mistake. I think that one of the watered down principles, I think that there are certain martial arts, which is a general term. I believe certain martial arts are made solely for self-defense. But I think that it's unfair, and I think it's trying to appease people and water down the reality to say that every martial art and all martial arts, all aspects of this type of art is only for self-defense. And there's no offensive concept in that martial art. You feel that's accurate, Sheikh? In which the people to agree with it. Self-defense, 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 self-defense. Because who's against self-defense? No one is going to bother you for opening up karate institute or dojo or mixed martial arts, and you have self-discipline, confidence, bullying, exercise, and self-defense. No one is going to be against you. But if you say this art and this style and this technique, oh, what do you mean? You're teaching people how to be dangerous. You're teaching people how to do this and how to do that. So oftentimes they water it down and they appease people by saying that every single thing is self-defense. I feel that's deceptive. I don't think that sheds true light on all types of martial arts. I may be wrong, Sheikh. Jazakallah khairan, Sheikh. So with that being said, I don't think that a person should always learn martial arts just for self-defense. We know that Muslims, we're not necessarily supposed to be just aggressive. Absolutely. Sometimes you have to be aggressive. Sometimes you must be aggressive in certain instances. But we know the general concept, as the brother said, Islam means peace. The Muslim is not supposed to be overly aggressive, looking for fights, looking to bully people, looking to pin people up against the wall and hit people and do this. That's not the nature of the believer. That's not the nature of the believer. However, I don't think that a person should just learn martial arts just for that, because you never know the time in which you must go on the offensive. And you must use a type of aggression to diffuse a situation, as we said, in the basement. It was years ago. It was me, you, and Nafis, nah? One of the first 5 minutes of Hadith, to diffuse, to stifle a situation. Someone is getting beat up or robbed. You can't, as our brother Sajid said, Allah bless him, he says you can't score on defense. You can't win a game on defense. Then there's a turnover on defense that's returned for a touchdown. But once the interception is made or the fumble is recovered, he's running towards the end zone. And that's no longer defense, that's now what? It's offense. So to just say it's only one direction, one gear. If you see a man battering a woman horribly in the street, beating her to a pulp, who knows what happened? We don't know what she did to him. She may have hit him. She may have abused him, but he's beaten her to a bloody pulp in the street. You can't stop that situation and diffuse that situation using what? Self-defense. You have to have some type of strength, some type of power to stop it. Not saying you want to injure him or hurt him, but you have to do something. You have to take a step to stop that situation, let alone in which it's permissible, lawful, and mandatory to do what? Go on the offensive. So therefore, I think we need to get rid of that. All martial arts are not just for self-defense. The concept of aggression, peace, let your enemy be the attacker, and you counterpunch aggressively, as he said. Aggressive counterpuncher. That's a different story. But everything is not based off of self-defense. Rather, we talk about boxing, which is a martial art, pugilism. Your defense has to lead and has to be translated into offense as well. Good defense has to lead to you scoring points on your opponent. Counterpunch. I'm not going to swing first. I'm not going to shoot the punch first, but I'm going to slip, I'm going to dip, and then I'm going to pat, counter you. So you have to get out of this way of thinking. That's incorrect in the world, and that's also incorrect in Islam to say every single thing is self-defense. And many Muslims, they water down Islam, they water down jihad with this concept, self-defense, defensive war. And that's not true. And I'm scared to stand in front of Allah Azza wa Jal and someone ask me a question and not say the truth. That's first and foremost. As far as the actual question, is it permissible to learn a martial art that has a shirki asl, a foundation of polytheism, of shirk? You're not learning the shirk, you just want to learn it for self-defense, etc., so on and so forth. I would say that there are many things that we do on a daily basis, many foods that we eat, many things that we wear, which pocket or which hand we put our watch on, and things like this that are based off of superstition and that are based off of shirk. But many things were years ago, ancient practices that were abolished or they evolved into normal practices. I'll give you one example of this, okay? That way you don't think I'm just making things up. I know many brothers, they do. I'm just exaggerating and talking just to talk, but it's a reality. One of the most common things that people have in their homes is what? Television, what else? Pictures, what else? Huh? Cell phones. We're talking about something pertaining to a house, specific to a house. Door, mirrors, getting closer. Clocks, getting closer. Furniture, getting closer. Huh? Bathroom. Plants, there you go. Read the history of plants. I don't think, and Allah knows best, I'm not a botanist. I don't specialize in the study of plants. But I don't think that you're going to find a popular house plant except that it's based off of superstition. And it's based off of medieval superstition and the shirk and the kufr of ancient England. All types of trees, plants, which they don't sell them in the stores because it's total bad luck to have them in your house. And the popular plants that people have because there was shirk origin behind having this plant in your house. And obviously a Muslim says, I like plants because they're beautiful. They're kind on the eyes. The green soothes my eyes. It's the oxygen, carbon monoxide, so on and so forth. But if you read and actually dig into, scratch beneath the surface about plants, you'd be shocked what you find. And why people talk to plants and where they put the plants. You'll be shocked and don't think that it all went away. So therefore, you buy plants for a reason, or you like incense. Most masjids, especially the older masjids, they have incense in the bathroom. Where do incense come from? What's the origin of incense? Read about the Far East and incense, summoning demons, summoning jinn through incense. But I like the incense because I like the smell. I like the incense because it's a good smell. It's fragrant. It gives a good aroma. I'm not using it to invoke no jinn or invoke no demon. And we can go on and on and on and on and on. From the foods you eat, the desserts that you have, the eggs that you eat in the morning come from superstition. Because the Western culture today is based off of shirk and kufr. It's based off of the Romans and the Greeks, for the most part. Okay? So, just because something has a shirk origin to it, but it's no longer involved with shirk, or you're not doing for shirk, then bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, hopefully there's nothing wrong with that. So it depends on what the martial art is, and it depends on what level you're going in the martial art. There's certain martial arts in which you don't have to go to this level unless you're really trying to master everything. I just want a basic self-defense. You don't have to go into which you have to bow down and do this and call upon this spirit and clap in front of this bell. You don't have to do that. Let alone the fact that there are different types of martial arts. And oftentimes martial arts are monopolized by a race or a part of the world, and that's not true. Every society has a martial art. Because martial arts is a necessity of life, defending yourself and also transgressing the boundaries against other human beings. From the beginning of time, Adam's children, Cain and Abel. So there's always a martial art. But a martial art doesn't have to be exclusive to one style or one culture. Everybody clear on this? That's what I would humbly say in a situation. And Allah Azza wa Jalla is the one who surely knows best.
This was MR from London,
After you're there, inshallah. After you're there. Jazakallah khairan.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله
أشهد أن محمد رسول الله.
حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة
لا حول ولا قوة إلا
حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
طيب, I believe we have maybe 2 minutes until the Iqamah. So let's try to summarize the answers as we normally try to do during the Q&A sessions. تفضل.
And this was MR from London, UK. Is gum reshaping and veneers permissible to improve the aesthetics of a smile?
Question says with regards to gum, what? Augmenting your gums?
Gum reshaping and
Gum reshaping and
veneers.
veneers. Is it permissible to improve one's smile? What's the question?
To improve the aesthetics of a smile.
To improve the aesthetics of one's smile. In brief, no, it's impermissible. Shaykh ibn Uthaymeen, rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, cosmetic surgery is of 2 types, or for 2 main reasons. The first is to remove, he says, izalat aib, li izalat aibin. It's to take away something which is abnormal, something which is unsightly, something that's not, that's irregular. Huh? Everybody understand this? It's irregular. You have a very long, this, or this is too much, or this is on one side, something that's abnormal. So getting a certain type of surgery to remove that and to make it more normal, he says, then that's permissible. And then he says the second type, القسم الثاني من الأعمال الجراحية التجميلية ما كان من باب التحسين والتجميل الزائد عن الأصل فهذا يحرم ويدخل في قوله عليه الصلاة والسلام المغيرات لخلق الله للحسن. انتبه لنفسك، هذا لفظ في المتن، المغيرات لخلق الله للحسن. هذا تعليل في النص. The second type of cosmetic surgery is that which is done to beautify or to enhance beauty and to add something that isn't originally there. And he says that's haram. And that is included in the words of the Prophet ﷺ about those women who are cursed. Women who get weaves and wigs and extensions, and women who are hairdressers who do those wigs, those weaves and those extensions, and the shaving and the trimming of the eyebrows and other things. He says women who change Allah's creation for the purpose of beauty. Women who change Allah's creation for the purpose of beauty. So therefore, removing something abnormal, la bas. Trying to get a better smile, impermissible. And Allah knows best.
And this was R.E. from Richmond, Virginia. My sister feels like it's obligatory to get married. She keeps falling into a horrible sin. The worried parents will say no since she's 19. What should she do?
Question comes from Virginia? Richmond, Virginia. A sister wants to get married to prevent her from keep falling into an ugly sin. but her parents say no, they keep pushing it off and delaying it, what should she do? She should disobey her parents and get married immediately. If she can't get married, it's too difficult, it's too much problems, too much heat that she's going to face, she doesn't have the ability to do it immediately, then fast. She should fast, and every day, every sujood, make dua that Allah Azza wa Jalla give her a good, righteous brother, a good, handsome brother, that bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, Allah will allow to fulfill her desires in a permissible way, and not to listen to her parents at all. Yawm al-Qiyamah, she's not going to stand with her parents. Allah tells us in the Quran, Yawma yafirru al-mar'u, on the day in which a man will run. He'll run from all of his family, his brother, his mother, his father, everyone. So your parents, they can't save you from Allah's wrath. So if you make zina because your parents won't allow you to do it the permissible way, and you have desires, 19 years old, you have desires, the peak of your beauty, don't listen to your parents. Disobey your parents and get married. Deal with the consequences later on, because Allah's wrath is worse than the wrath of your father and your mother. Allah knows best.
Initials FA from Houston, Texas. Is it a bad preference to only want to marry a virgin, not previously married, and have it a deal breaker if not?
Is it a bad thing to request and only look for a woman who's a virgin? Yes and no. Or no and yes. No, it's not a bad thing, but yes, it is a bad thing. It's a bad thing if it prevents you from marrying a good, righteous sister. She's righteous. She's beautiful with Islam. The deen is shining on her. And Allah also perhaps gave her some physical beauty as well. But she's a good mu'minah. And that prevents you, just because she made a mistake some years back, she was young, she was ignorant, she was foolish, she was stupid, she was impulsive, she didn't know what she was doing, and she made zina. She's a righteous believer. Then it's a bad thing. She's a good match for you. She's compatible for you. She comes from a good family. She has knowledge. She has many qualifications of a good wife. And it's good chemistry between you two. Then it's a bad thing to say, I won't marry you just because you're a virgin. But it's not necessarily a bad thing if those circumstances aren't like that. Let alone, what type of person are you? Are you a virgin? Many brothers, they say, I only want to marry a woman who's a virgin, but they themselves have slept with hundreds of women. They themselves mentally, and this is another serious issue. Many young women, young brothers and sisters, they're virgins physically, but mentally they're whores. They've been mind raped through pornography, through rap, through music, through movies, through society. So they have to be mindful of this as well. So if you're pious and righteous and you're a virgin and you want a woman who's a virgin like you, and the wisdom of marrying a virgin woman, then wait until Allah gives you what you want. And you shouldn't compromise. You shouldn't do away with your prerequisites. But it depends on how strong you look at that prerequisite. A woman being a virgin is a good thing, but it isn't a necessary thing in my list. Then that's a different story. Marry her. If you say, no, she has to be a virgin, I don't want to have another man that's ever seen her undressed, then that's a different story. It depends on you and your life. What type of lifestyle you're leading, what type of person you are. And why do you want a woman who's a virgin? Just to implement the hadith? Or you only want a virgin for other reasons? You want a woman who's a virgin because of what people say, or your culture. Your culture. On the night of consummation, you and your wife, you will take this white towel. You lay the white towel on the bed. And when you break your wife's virginity, you deflower her, you will bring us the towel in the morning with the stains of blood from her hymen being broken. And if you don't, then she'll be put to death. If you don't, your tribe, your country, your clan will be dishonored forever until Yawm al-Qiyamah. You know what I mean? If you don't bring us and show everyone the towel in which there's blood. Where did the blood come from? Did the blood come from a cut or nick that you put on the towel? Do they have the ability to distinguish blood from a hymen and blood from a finger? That's the culture. You're afraid of the people. You know she's a good woman, she's a good girl, but she's not a virgin and there's cultural pressure. Then that's a different story. The deen comes before culture. The culture that goes against the deen is a bad culture. East or west? East or what? Middle Eastern, wherever the culture is. West Africa, North Africa, South Africa, wherever it is. If it goes against the deen, and in most cases, subhanAllah, these cultural practices, not only do they go against the deen, but they go against common sense. They go against common sense. You're living in 2018 in New York City, going to college, suffering, falling into all types of haram things that you watch and listen to and do. But you still have to obey the old traditional cultural practices from the original country in which your parents came. They're not living in Bed-Stuy, New York. They're not going to this college. They're not experiencing the things. There was no such thing as internet porn in the time of your parents back in this country. But there is now. So be mindful of that. Be what? Be mindful of that. So it depends on the person. It depends on the situation. And Allah knows best.
This is MH from South London, UK. How does one balance between teaching people the haqq with using hikmah and knowing when to speak out and when to be silent, weighing up the harms and benefits?
Question come from South London with regards to when do you teach the people, use wisdom, when do you speak out, enjoying the good, forbid the evil, outweighing the harms and the benefits. I don't agree with the question at all. The question doesn't make sense to me at all. There's no contradiction or clash between the two. When you keep silent, when you speak, everything is based off of wisdom. When you are harsh in your dawah, it's wisdom. When you're soft, it's wisdom. When you don't say something about haram act in the masjid or a bid'ah or this imam and this one, that's wisdom. And when you do speak, you speak wisdom. The believer doesn't move without wisdom. There's no gear in your gearbox except that it's based off of wisdom. Wisdom is the lifeblood of the caller to Allah. Udu ila sabili rabbika bil hikmah. Allah says, call to the way of your Lord with hikmah. So everything that you do has to be based off of wisdom. And if you don't say something about an act, it doesn't mean that you're not using wisdom. When you do say something about an act, you don't act recklessly. You do it with what? Wisdom. So then there's never a time in which you as a caller to Allah are immune to wisdom. Abadan. Everything that you do has to be based off of strategic wisdom. Everything. That's the true caller to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's no recklessness. There's no impulsiveness. Everything is based off of wisdom. And Allah knows best. However, Allah gives wisdom to whom He wills. And Allah knows best. Wa sallallahu respect.